All right, guys, so this video is to show you how to make a question bank in Canvas. The reason we would make a question bank is because we want to randomize our quiz questions for our students who are maybe taking them at home and for students who are in our classroom. And one of the easier things to do that you've most likely found the button for already is how to randomize the answers. But in this scenario, we're trying to randomize the questions. And in this scenario, you could also leave questions out. So say you had a 15 question quiz, but you only wanted your students to take 10 of those questions. You could have it so it only pulls 10 questions from that list of 15. Or you could just have all 15 questions for students and you could have them randomly ordered. So that's the scenario that we're working for today. Now, the first thing you want to do is be in your course. And when you're in your course, I'm going to ask you to go over to quizzes. So I'm going to scroll over here and look for quizzes, and here it is. Once I go into my quizzes, I notice here that I have all the quizzes that I created. Instead of hitting a new quiz, I'm going to click these three dots here, and this button here says Manage Quiz Question Banks. And this is the key to the whole thing, question banks. So here I am. I have all my question banks that I've created. And now yours aren't going to say test 3, test 4, test 5. Your question banks, are going to be the names of your quizzes. So when you are doing this, you have a whole list of all the quizzes you would use for a particular subject. So that's what I recommend you name your question banks. Name them after your quizzes or tests. Now, the first step to this whole thing here is to add a question bank. When I add a question bank, I'm going to go ahead and name it, and I will name mine Test 6, and I'll hit Enter. When I hit Enter, you can see that I've created a new test question bank. So now I'll go inside of there by clicking in, and all I'm going to do now is just add a question. When you add a question, of course, you know, because you've done this before, you have all these choices for which types of questions you're going to add. I'm just going to make it a true and false just to make this nice and easy on me. And I'm just going to write some random letters here. And I'm going to come down here and choose true. There we go. I got it on true. I'm good there. I will update that question. And I can see that I've made a question in my question bank. And since this is going to be a quiz that you're going to give, you're probably going to have 10 or 15 questions in here. All right, so here's the next step. Our next step is to be in quizzes, and you're going to create a question group. So I'm going to come over here to quizzes. Now this time I'm going to hit add new quiz. I'm not going to choose my 3 buttons. This is what we did the first step. Our first step was to add a manage our question bank. But in this step, in step 2, we're going to add a new quiz. We'll name our quiz Practice Quiz 10. And of course, make any directions you want right here. Decide how you're going to grade this, if you're going to sync it, if you're going to let kids see their correct answers. All these things that you see here on this screen, that's all your preference. I do give anyone just a general warning is make sure all due dates on weekdays. Please don't have any due dates happen on a weekend. And if you do that, it won't sync to eSchool. But here's where we have to do the next step, which is right here in the questions tab. So when I hit questions here, my next choice I'm going to do is to make a new question group. So here I'll select question group. I'm going to call this Group Echo. And I am going to link to a question bank. I'm going to go ahead and link to question bank number 6, where in the first part of this video, you saw me create question bank number 6. So there I am. I'm going to link to it. I'm going to hit select bank. Now, 2 things. When you're on this screen right here, you just linked your bank. Make sure you choose to either pick all the questions that you just created, or just pick the number of questions you want pulled from that bank. And it says pick 4 questions, 1 point per question. So obviously you can change your point values here as well. And then the last step here is to simply hit create group. And now you can see that group Echo picks 4 questions, 1 point per question, and the questions will be pulled from the bank T6. And there you go. Now you have a quiz that's saved and you pulled it from a question bank, and that'll make sure that it randomly selects which questions are going to be on how they'll be ordered on the quiz for each student. I'll hit save, and if you're going to save and publish, then make sure your kids can see it. Do that. I'm just going to hit save. And you're ready to go. And you can check all your settings here once again if you needed to. Here's my preview. And you can see that my preview was random. These are not the order in which I entered things in. And I'll go back one more time. Let me go right back to where I was, quizzes, practice quiz 10. And we'll preview that one more time. And once again, you can see that the quiz is random. That is not the first question and the last time we saw it. So the next logical question is, can I use this in my other classes? Can I create a question bank and then use it for a class that's not cross-listed? Can I even share with other teachers? The answer to all that is yes. First, let's look at how do I share it, or how do I use it in my other classes? So here's how you use it in your other classes. When you're in quizzes, which you can see that I'm in my quizzes right now, and you go back to those 3 buttons on the right-hand side, I'm going to go to Manage Question Banks. When you're in Manage Question Banks, you're going to notice these bookmarks. These bookmarks have a tiny X in there. And if they have the tiny X in there, it means that you can view this in any other class that you're a teacher. So for example, test 6 is what we use in the beginning part of this video. And you can see when I hover over this thing that it says unbookmark test 6. So you know right now that it is bookmarked. If I unbookmark it, you can see that the X goes away. If I bookmark it, there's the X again. So since it's bookmarked, I'm going to go to a course from last year. I'm going to go to my CV course from last year, and I am going to see if I can pull that in there when I make a new quiz. So right now, I just switched over to my CV course from last year, and I'm going to go to quizzes, and I'm going to click new quiz, and I'm going to call it practice quiz 11. And of course, I'd put all my demographic information here. Anything I needed to select, I would select here. But we're trying to see if I can use my question bank in this new course. Now, this course is a course that I was already a teacher in. That is the requirement. You have to be a teacher in both courses to pull from your bookmark list. So when I come in here, I'll go ahead and hit New Question Group. I'm going to link to a question bank. And there it is. I can link to any of those question banks because I have them all bookmarked. And there's question or test 6, which is my question bank. So here I am. I got group G is what I named it. And I'm going to pick all 4 questions from that question bank. I'm going to make it 1 point per question. And I can see everything looks perfect. The last thing I have to do before I hit save is I have to update the group or save the group, whatever this may say here. Make sure you do that. And there you go. I saved the group. I updated the group. And now I can see that group G picks 4 questions, 1 point per question. And all the questions will be pulled from the bank test 6. And then you can go ahead and save that. And you're done. And of course, when you go in there to preview it, you'll see that in the other course that you owned, you can see a preview of your quiz. You can see that it's random in the questions because you remember this is not the order in which we created the questions. So everything is exactly how it's supposed to look. All right, guys, so I hope you learned a lot. The idea today was how do I create a quiz with random questions and how can I use that in different classes? So you learned that from this video. If you need to, send me an email. I can come to your class or I can meet you in your off period and I can show you this one-on-one. But thanks for watching.